In the summer of 1978, Robert Johnson and his wife Claire moved into a large, two-story house on Hillcrest Road in Ohio. Along with them was their 12-year-old daughter, Lily. The house was old, built in the early 1900s, and had been vacant for more than a decade. The paint was peeling, the roof leaked in places, and weeds had grown tall in the front yard. But it was cheap, and Robert was determined to give his family a fresh start. The neighbors greeted them politely, but avoided eye contact when the address was mentioned. Some even muttered warnings under their breath, but Robert dismissed it as small-town superstition. The first nights were calm, though the air inside the house always felt colder than outside, even in the heat of summer. Claire often complained of a heavy, oppressive feeling in the upstairs hallway, especially near the landing. Then, on the third night, something strange happened. At exactly 3:07 a.m., Claire awoke to the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate, heavy steps that seemed to come from the hallway right outside their bedroom. She nudged Robert awake, but by the time he listened, the sound had stopped. They assumed it was the house settling, but it happened again and again. Always at 3:07 a.m., Robert decided to investigate. One night, he sat awake in bed, waiting. When the clock struck 3:07, he heard it, a creaking step, then another, moving steadily down the hall. He grabbed a flashlight and opened the door. The hallway was empty, but the bulb in the ceiling fixture flickered and buzzed. At the far end, the air seemed thicker, as if a shadow hung there, darker than the rest of the night. A week later, Robert found the front door standing wide open at dawn. He was certain he had locked it before bed. The next night, to test his theory, he wedged a chair under the doorknob. At 3:07 a.m., the sound of footsteps came again. The chair scraped violently across the wooden floor, on its own, sliding away from the door. Robert froze, his mouth dry, unable to believe what he was seeing. Meanwhile, Lily began complaining of whispers in her room. She said a woman's voice called her name, softly, tenderly, as though trying to lull her. One evening, she told Claire, "She wants to play with me. She says I won't be lonely anymore." When Claire demanded to know who she was talking about, Lily pointed to the dark corner of her bedroom and whispered, "The woman in the black dress." Claire nearly fainted. Desperate for answers, the Johnsons contacted the house's previous owner. At first, the elderly man refused to speak. Finally, with trembling hands, he confessed that his wife had hanged herself in the upstairs hallway in 1966 at exactly 3:07 a.m. He had abandoned the house afterward, unable to bear the memories. After this revelation, the activity grew violent. Lights flickered wildly, doors slammed shut with enough force to crack the frames. Lily was discovered sleepwalking one night, barefoot in the freezing yard, her eyes half open, whispering in a voice that was not her own. Robert decided to gather proof. He placed a tape recorder in the hallway before bed. At 3:07 a.m., the recorder captured the sound of footsteps, followed by a woman's ragged breathing. Then, in a voice cold and venomous, it whispered, "Get out, before I take her." The next morning, Robert played the tape for Claire. Her hands shook so violently she dropped her coffee cup, shattering it across the floor. Lily only stared at the machine, expressionless, as if she already knew what it contained. Within days, Robert made the decision to leave. They packed what they could and fled in the middle of the night. To this day, the house on Hillcrest Road stands empty. Neighbors say they sometimes hear footsteps in the upstairs hallway, always at 3:07 a.m. Some claim to have seen a woman in a black dress staring from the second-floor window. No one has lived there longer than a few months.